I played Wimbledon, and my family came. The whole family was out of the country.
Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. At sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin. Kamusta mga kapang Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala.
The establishment is trembling. Not metaphorically. Not quietly. Trembling. Because something they thought they could manage, contain, schedule neatly onto an outside court has exploded into something far bigger than a tennis match. This week at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, a 20-year-old from Manila has forced a reckoning that the sport was not prepared for. And when a legend like Martina Navratilova raises her voice, people don't just listen. They react. They scramble. They panic. What is happening in Dubai is not just about forehands under desert lights. It is not about rankings alone. It is about power. It is about visibility. It is about who gets the spotlight and who gets told to wait their turn. And the most uncomfortable question echoing through locker rooms and boardrooms right now is one the establishment desperately wishes would disappear. Why does this pattern look the way it does? Why does it feel so familiar? Why does it keep happening to the same kind of player? To understand the firestorm, you have to understand the spark. And that spark has a name: Alexandra Eala. Alexandra Eala was born in Manila on May 23, 2005. She did not grow up inside European tennis academies or American country clubs. She grew up in a country where basketball dominates headlines and tennis dreams often feel distant. But she had something rare from the beginning. Not just talent. Not just athleticism. Certainty. The kind of certainty that doesn't shout but doesn't bend either. When she committed to tennis, she committed completely. Her family committed. Sacrifices were made quietly, without cameras. And when she earned a place at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, she stepped into one of the most disciplined development systems in the sport. That environment refines players technically, but it also tests their emotional endurance. You either harden or you disappear. Eala hardened. Her junior breakthrough at the French Open girls singles title in 2022 wasn't just a trophy. It was a signal flare. Southeast Asia had produced a contender who was not interested in being symbolic. She wanted to win. The transition to the professional tour is where most prodigies stumble. The pace increases. The depth increases. The physicality becomes unforgiving. But Eala did not arrive timidly. She began collecting wins that forced commentators to adjust their tone. When she defeated reigning world number 1 Iga Swiatek, it wasn't framed as a lucky day. It was structured aggression. It was fearless return positioning. It was the composure of someone who believed she belonged there. She also took down Madison Keys, a Grand Slam champion with experience on the biggest stages. These weren't symbolic victories. They were tactical dismantlings. And suddenly the rankings began to reflect what insiders were whispering. Top 40 in the world. The highest-ranked Filipina in WTA history. This was no longer about promise. It was about arrival. But here is where the tension builds. Success on paper did not translate into equal visibility in practice. Tournament after tournament, Eala found herself placed on secondary courts. Outer courts. Courts too small for the audiences she attracts. Meanwhile, larger arenas hosted matches featuring players with smaller followings and comparable or lower rankings. Fans noticed. They documented. They compared data. They posted screenshots. They asked questions. And when supporters began sleeping outside venues at the Australian Open just to secure seats for her matches, it became impossible to argue that she was not commercially significant. Filipino fans are not passive spectators. They mobilize. They travel. They chant "Laban Alex" until stadium structures vibrate. They turn tennis into community. And yet, time and again, they were asked to squeeze into spaces that could not contain them. This is when the situation escalated. Martina Navratilova did not whisper her frustration. She called out what she saw as an obvious mismatch between demand and platform. She questioned why a player driving ticket sales and global engagement was repeatedly sidelined. When a legend of her stature challenges tournament decisions publicly, it signals more than annoyance. It signals principle. And she was not alone. Lindsay Davenport also expressed concern. Two Hall of Fame voices independently raising similar issues cannot be dismissed as coincidence. They forced a conversation the WTA could no longer quietly manage. And then Dubai happened. The scheduling debate intensified because Eala was not just competing. She was dominating. Her match against 6th seed Jasmine Paolini was a declaration. Paolini is not an easy draw. She is disciplined, quick, tactically intelligent. Yet Eala stormed through the opening set 6-1 with a level of clarity that felt surgical. She attacked second serves. She redirected pace down the line. She dictated baseline exchanges with controlled aggression. The second set tightened. Tension crept in. Match points slipped away. And here, in that pressure pocket, you saw her maturity. She reset emotionally. She recalibrated. She closed. That is what elite athletes do. They do not unravel when scripts wobble. They stabilize. The crowd erupted. Not politely. Not neutrally. Viscerally. The optics became impossible to ignore. Packed outer courts overflowing with Filipino flags while larger arenas had visible empty sections earlier in the week. Social media amplified everything within seconds. Hashtags trended. Debate expanded beyond tennis forums into mainstream sports discourse. Was this just administrative oversight? Or did it reflect a deeper structural blind spot about which markets and which identities are prioritized? Those are not comfortable questions for any governing body. But once asked publicly, they do not fade. Now the stage shifts. Because the decision was made. Center court. Prime spotlight. Quarterfinal showdown against Coco Gauff, world number 4 and Grand Slam champion. This is not just a match. It is narrative density compressed into 2 hours. Gauff, thoughtful and socially aware, understands context. She knows the crowd energy will tilt heavily toward Eala. She knows the symbolism. She also knows that stepping into that arena means confronting more than an opponent. It means confronting momentum. And momentum in sport is not abstract. It is audible. It is kinetic. It presses. For Eala, this is validation and opportunity fused together. Months of feeling minimized. Weeks of fans campaigning. Days of controversy. And now the largest court in Dubai awaits. Imagine the emotional layering. You are told, subtly but repeatedly, that you are secondary. Then you are placed at the center. The same lights that once felt withheld now blaze directly overhead. This is where legacies begin to take shape. Not always with trophies. Sometimes with moments. Think of Jesse Owens in Berlin. Think of Naomi Osaka at the US Open. Think of Manny Pacquiao rising from hardship to global icon. Certain performances ripple beyond sport because they intersect with identity and timing. Dubai 2026 is becoming that kind of intersection. The Philippines, with more than 110 million people, is watching. Television numbers are surging. Online engagement metrics are spiking. Sponsors are observing carefully. Because this is not sentimental energy. It is commercial gravity. And ignoring gravity rarely ends well. So here we stand. A young Filipina in the form of her life. A center court finally assigned. A global audience leaning forward. Legends watching from commentary booths. The establishment adjusting its posture. And one question still humming beneath everything. Was the sidelining accidental, or was it symptomatic? The answer may not arrive in a press release. It may unfold through performance. Through applause. Through the unmistakable sound of a crowd that refuses to be quiet. And this is only the beginning. Center court in Dubai does not feel like a tennis arena tonight. It feels like a stage where something irreversible is about to happen. The lights are hotter. The air is heavier. Every seat is filled long before warm-ups begin. Filipino flags ripple in sections that were once politely neutral. The low hum of anticipation builds into something alive. And when Alexandra Eala walks out of the tunnel, the sound that meets her is not applause. It is release. Months of frustration, days of outrage, hours of online arguments, all condense into one thunderous roar. Across the net stands Coco Gauff. Focused. shoulders squared. She has played in louder stadiums. She has won on bigger stages. But this feels different. Not hostile. Not disrespectful. Charged. She knows the context. She understands that tonight is not only about quarterfinal positioning at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. It is about symbolism. It is about who owns the narrative. And as they begin the warm-up rally, you can sense that both players are aware that the match is already larger than either of them individually. The first few games are tight. Controlled. Measured. Eala's forehand has that clean, whipping acceleration that comes from hours on clay in Mallorca at the Rafael Nadal Academy. She steps inside the baseline whenever Goff's second serve floats even slightly. Goff counters with depth and heavy topspin, trying to push Eala backward to test whether emotion will override structure. But here's the thing about Eala. The noise does not rush her. It steadies her. She feeds off rhythm. She does not overhit when adrenaline spikes. That composure is what separates talented players from dangerous ones. At 2-2, the first real momentum swing arrives. A 14-shot rally that stretches both players corner to corner. Goff defends brilliantly, sliding into a backhand that seems impossible to retrieve. Eala responds by redirecting pace down the line with millimeter precision. The crowd gasps midpoint. When Goff's final forehand drifts just long, the eruption is seismic. Not because it is a break point. Not yet. But because it signals something subtle and terrifying for the establishment. She is not overwhelmed. She belongs. When the break finally comes, it feels earned. Eala attacks a second serve, steps forward, and finishes at net with authority. No hesitation. No flicker of doubt. Just execution. 4-2. The scoreboard glows. Goff walks to her chair composed, but there is a quick glance toward her box, a micro-expression that reveals calculation. She knows this cannot turn into a sprint. She needs to slow it down. She needs longer exchanges. She needs to test Eala's patience. And patience becomes the battleground. Because for months, patience is what Eala has been asked to practice off-court. Wait for better scheduling. Wait for prime time. Wait for your turn. Tonight there is no waiting. Tonight there is only taking. She closes the first set 6-3 with a serve wide that pulls Goff off the court and a forehand winner that lands like punctuation. The stadium does not simply cheer. It vibrates. But champions respond. And Goff is a champion. Early in the second set, she raises her return position, steps inside the baseline, and begins attacking Eala's second serve with sharp aggression. The pressure shifts. Break point against Eala at 1-1. The crowd quiets for the first time all night. This is the moment where doubt can creep in. The moment critics have been waiting for. Is she ready for this level of sustained heat? She saves it with a fearless inside-out forehand that clips the line. No apology. No fist pump. Just eye contact with her team and a subtle nod. That nod says everything. I am here. The next rally stretches to 20 shots. Goff pushes. Eala absorbs. Finally, Goff draws an error. Break secured. 3-1 Goff. Now we see the other side of this story. The weight. The expectation. The knowledge that millions in the Philippines are watching, that social media is tracking every point in real time. Pressure does not disappear when you get the platform. It multiplies. What makes this match so gripping is not just the tennis. It is the layers. Goff, who has spoken eloquently about justice and equity in sport, now positioned as the representative of an establishment that many fans believe has marginalized Eala. It is not a fair simplification, but narratives rarely are. And Goff feels it. You can see it in her intensity between points. She is not dismissive. She is locked in. She understands that if she wins, some will interpret it as the establishment restoring order. If she loses, it becomes a chapter in a larger movement. At 4-4, the tension peaks. Eala breaks back with relentless depth, forcing Goff into defensive corners. The rally that seals it is brutal. 23 shots. Sweat flying. Shoes squeaking. When Goff nets a backhand, the release from the crowd feels almost cathartic. 5-4. Serving for the match. The camera pans across faces painted in blue, red, and yellow. Fans clasping hands. Phones raised. History feels close enough to touch. But sport is never linear. Double fault. 15-15. A tight forehand error. 15-30. Gauff senses hesitation and steps in, cracking a return winner. Break point. The silence is suffocating. Eala bounces the ball deliberately. Once, twice, 3 times. The serve lands deep. The rally unfolds cautiously at first, then accelerates. Gauff drives a backhand cross-court. Eala slides, stretches, lifts a looping defensive reply that lands impossibly close to the baseline. Gauff overpresses. Error. Deuce. 2 points later, match point. The crowd rises instinctively. Not commanded. Not choreographed. It just happens. The serve goes wide. Gauff blocks it back. Short reply. Eala steps in and unleashes a forehand that detonates into the corner. Clean winner. No review needed. It is in. The sound that follows is indescribable. She does not collapse immediately. She exhales. Looks upward. Then the emotion breaks through. Not theatrical. Human. Raw. Across the net, Gauff approaches with genuine respect. A long handshake. A few words exchanged privately. Because beneath the narratives, there is mutual understanding. 2 young women navigating a sport that often moves slower than its players deserve. As Eala waves to the crowd, chants of "Laban Alex" roll like thunder. The commentators scramble for language big enough to match the moment. Martina Navratilova watches from the studio, expression unreadable but intense. The decision to place Eala on center court came under pressure. Now it looks prophetic. Now it looks overdue. And the implications stretch outward. Television ratings in Manila spike. Social feeds flood. Sponsors recalibrate marketing decks overnight. The WTA cannot pretend this was accidental momentum. This is structural opportunity. This is proof of concept. A Southeast Asian star filling premium seats and delivering premium tennis against a top 4 opponent. But here is where the story deepens. Because winning one match does not dismantle systems. It exposes them. It challenges them. It forces reflection. The scheduling controversy does not vanish simply because she triumphed. If anything, it intensifies scrutiny. How many other players from emerging tennis nations have been quietly sidelined without this level of fan mobilization? How many potential stars never reached this stage because the spotlight arrived too late? Eala's press conference afterward is revealing. She smiles when asked about the crowd. She speaks about gratitude. About feeling blessed to see Filipinos for days in the stands. There is no bitterness in her tone. No accusation. Just quiet acknowledgement of what it meant to finally share that moment with a full arena. When a reporter mentions the surging YouTube numbers on her pre-tournament interviews, she laughs softly, almost embarrassed, as if the global scale of attention still feels surreal. And that humility might be the most disarming element of all. Because revolutions in sport are rarely led by the loudest voice. Sometimes they are led by the most composed one. Dubai is not finished. A semi-final awaits. The draw does not get easier. The pressure will double. But something irreversible has already happened. The conversation has shifted from whether she deserves center court to how often she should be there. From questioning her market value to measuring it. The establishment is no longer shaking quietly. It is recalibrating. And we are not done yet. The morning after Dubai feels different. Not calmer. Sharper. Like the sport woke up aware that something shifted overnight. Headlines are no longer asking whether Alexandra Eala deserves the spotlight. They are asking how the spotlight was ever withheld in the first place. Sports panels dissect not just her forehand patterns but the scheduling trail that led here. Clips of her match point against Coco Gauff loop endlessly across timelines. The roar. The winner. The stillness before celebration. It replays because it feels symbolic. It feels like a door opening. Inside tournament offices, conversations are quieter but far more urgent. The Women's Tennis Association cannot ignore what Dubai exposed. This was not just a viral spike. It was measurable commercial gravity. broadcast numbers from the Philippines surged. Engagement metrics shattered regional records. Merchandise linked to Eala sold out within hours. Sponsors began asking pointed but practical questions. If this is the response when she plays a quarterfinal, what happens if she reaches a final? What happens if she wins one of the biggest titles on tour? Because that is the part the establishment underestimated. Passion scales. And Filipino fans did not just celebrate online. They mobilized in person. Travel agencies reported last-minute bookings. Community watch parties formed in cities across the globe. The phrase, "Laban Alex," stopped being a chant and became a banner headline. And when you combine emotional loyalty with purchasing power, governing bodies pay attention very quickly. Meanwhile, Martina Navratilova did not soften her stance. In post-match analysis, she reiterated that visibility should follow both merit and market impact. She did not claim conspiracy. She did not scream injustice. She simply laid out facts. Packed outer courts. Empty patches on main arenas earlier in the week. A mismatch between demand and assignment. When a legend speaks calmly and firmly, it lands harder than outrage. Lindsay Davenport echoed the sentiment. Transparency in scheduling criteria. Clearer communication. Accountability. Not punishment. Evolution. But perhaps the most fascinating layer is what happened culturally. Young athletes across Southeast Asia saw something that felt newly attainable. Tennis academies in Manila reported surges in inquiries within 48 hours. Parents asked about programs. Kids asked for rackets. Because representation does not operate abstractly. It operates visually. When you see someone who looks like you, who speaks like you, who carries your flag onto center court and wins, possibility expands. Eala herself handled the wave with composure that feels almost unnatural for someone her age. In interviews, she consistently redirected praise toward her team, her family, the fans. She spoke about gratitude more than grievance. When asked directly about the scheduling controversy, she chose her words carefully. She said she was thankful for the opportunity to play on center court. That was it. No attack. No accusation. That restraint amplified her credibility. Because while others debated structures, she focused on performance. And the performance continued. In the semifinal, the fatigue showed early. Emotional matches extract a cost. Her legs were half a step slower. Her first serve percentage dipped. But even in defeat, she fought. Long rallies. Defiant fist pumps. She left everything on the court. When the final point ended her run, the crowd stood anyway. Not politely. Reverently. Because this was never just about one trophy. Commercial analysts began publishing think pieces within days. Southeast Asia, identified as an emerging growth market, suddenly moved from paragraph 3 to headline. Brands that previously focused almost exclusively on North American and European stars expanded their outreach strategies. The WTA's internal media teams highlighted Filipino engagement data in presentations. The numbers were undeniable. But beyond economics, something more intangible had shifted. The old scheduling model, where decisions happened quietly without explanation, felt outdated overnight. Fans proved they could organize globally within hours. They compared draw sheets, attendance figures, ranking histories. They did the math. Transparency is no longer optional in a digital era where every assignment can become a trending debate. For Coco Gauff, the narrative complexity did not disappear either. She addressed it head-on in subsequent interviews. She acknowledged the incredible energy Eala brings to the sport. She praised the fan base. She spoke about growth and inclusion. It was thoughtful, measured, self-aware. Because she understands what it means to navigate identity within tennis. Her respect helped diffuse any temptation to frame the story as rivalry fueled by resentment. Instead, it became a conversation about expansion. And that is the word that lingers now.